Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. All is good. We are back. Diego is back from holidays, refreshed. 1 week off. I'm back with you guys. We're back collectively. Churros is back. And what a day to be back, Diego. Not only are Real Madrid 2 points ahead of Barcelona, but Spanish women's national team, campeonas del mundo.
Campeonas, ¿qué pasa, campeonas? Hey, what a great game. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I was excited that, of course, Spain, the women's team, had made it to the World Cup final. I was impressed with what I saw on the day. Impressed with the achievement. You know, let's not forget the 15 players that, of course, renounced to play for the Spanish national side, that include some of the best players that Spain currently have at their, that are not currently at their availability, but for reasons that, we're not going to get into at this moment in time. But how impressive is it that in spite of despite of missing so much quality, so much talent, this team has still managed to, bounce back, face adversity, and win the World Cup final against the European champions, England, who on the day were just fully outclassed, I say I enjoyed watching that game because I thought the football that we saw was splendid. The quality, the dominance. England was they had no clue what to do when they had the ball. Not that they were able to string any passes together, because these ladies were just, intense in their press, quick in their ball recuperation, getting the ball back under their control, and just playing some fantastic football, tiki-taka football, call it what you want. There's no point in hiding the fact that once again, this World Cup team is a championship team that is, predominantly filled with Barca players. These players know each other well. You can see in the way that they play, the way that they approach the game of football. And it was a joy to watch. It really was a joy to watch. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've ate up all of the minutes of this Women's World Cup, that I was glued to the television, one, because of severe time constraints. It was hard enough for me to see what was the quarterfinal between Holland and Spain, which was, of course, a fun affair, where these ladies managed to just annihilate Holland on the day, even though it went to penalties. They should have gone through before that already. And then finally see this final, which was a footballing spectacle. As I said, I watched it with the family. My kids were super excited to see. It was very fun to say to my daughter, this could be you one day. And I think, I do think that these kind of games, this kind of team inspires younger generations to play the game and play it, in my opinion, just beautifully and executed in a very highly entertaining way. So congratulations to the Spain team. It's one for the men's 2010, one for the women's 2023. Kiyan, they managed to win a World Cup in their third World Cup participation. I mean, that says a lot, I think.
I thought it was just, like you said, there's so many impressive things about it. One, all the things you mentioned about the things surrounding the Spanish national team and the amount of players who had to step out. And just the fact that
both step up and step out.
Both.
Yeah.
But just also the fact that when you look at the final, there was, 1-0 is not a reflection, I don't think. But
Absolutely
hey,
not.
It's a final, these finals, it's typically a lower scoreline. So I'm not complaining, but there was a massive gulf between the two teams. The control that Spain had was on another level. And shout out, of course, to Olga Carmona, who I can't imagine the roller coaster of emotions.
My God. Gives me goosebumps right now, Kiyan. Look, yeah. I'm not joking, just for camera. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about what that player must have been going through. Yeah. I'm not a holy man, but I would like to think that her dad, it wasn't quite clear to me if he has, or if he did pass away before the game, before kickoff, or during the first half. I'm not entirely sure.
It's not entirely clear. I think
spirit.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just that his spirit was maybe present over there in Australia in the World Cup final and helped Olga get the winning goal, and a fantastic goal as well.
Unless there's an update on it, I'm not sure. But the way it was worded, it seemed a little bit unclear to me exactly when he passed away. But they did say Friday. And of course, you're looking at time zones and stuff too. So it could be just a matter of he may have just missed it. But I would like to believe that he knows and has seen it either way. And yeah, I could talk about a day you'll never forget. Incredibly strong woman, and just respect to her and the entire Spanish national team for what they did.
Massive respect. I mean, Infantino before the game had some statements, and we should talk about the post game as well, because my God, has the World Cup final and the win, the emphatic, triumphant win of Spain, been overshadowed by the nastiness of Rubiales, the testicle grabbing, the despicable character more and more that is becoming the president of the Spanish Football Federation, that I'm sorry, I cannot defend. Infantino also before the game had some awkward statements, clumsy, unfortunate, but also inappropriate and just wrong, when he said something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, Kiyan, that it was about time that the women's team made their own mark, kicked in the door, and stepped up. Had this person been more aware, I think, of where the women's game is currently, he would have not used that wording, because I think that women's football has already come so far. And yes, it still has strides and ways to go and to improve, and to become more of a global game, increase in viewership, etc. And in 3 years' time, I've seen such a leap in quality as well. And not just because I've had to cover it for professional reasons, but I think it's just evident and clear to see how much the quality has improved of the women's game. So knowing all that, taking all that into account, I found his statements exactly that, to be out of date, maybe somebody that is showing his age a little bit. We all have those, or have had those grandparents that say racist things that were in their time appropriate, that are currently just simply inappropriate and to our generation. And I think that is continuing now with the women's movement as well, where statements like that, it just shows that that person is not aware of where the women's game in this case is currently. And again, this is coming from somebody that I confess, I don't watch, all of the women's games. I've had to cover the Barca women's team, not as in detail and depth as some of my colleagues, but I've done Champions League finals for Barca. Obviously Barca, the women's team have been miraculous, and I've had to cover them on a daily basis for Barca News. So my point, that was just something that I wanted to highlight and point out or mention on this Churros. And then, of course, came the post-match, the ceremony, the handing over of the trophy, where Rubiales found it appropriate to kiss Hermoso, the most veteran player of the Spanish squad, on the lips, in the moment of jubilation, surely, but a person, meaning in a moment of sporadic joy, but nothing can justify that, what we saw take place from especially a person in his position, where the protocol clearly states what and how you should behave during the uitreiking, during the handing out of the medals and the awards and the trophies. To do something like that as president of the Spanish Football Federation, and to then be so lax about it as well. Granted, I haven't seen his apology video. I know he has put something out apologizing, but that should have never taken place, or we should have seen an apology much sooner, right after the fact. So But man, I don't know if it's internationally, but in Spain, there's just nothing else that people are talking about at the moment. And I think rightly so, meaning that the critique that is being aimed at Rubiales, I find it rightly placed.
I agree that it's rightly placed. I mean, I don't know necessarily what the media is saying outside of Spain. I will say that my dad and I saw it, and immediately we're like, well, that's highly inappropriate. And
yeah, it was like a double take moment, huh?
We were like, did that just happen? And
exactly.
And then, of course, it was all online. I have no idea what the media around the world is saying, but obviously in Spain they're talking about, and people are talking about it. I'm not sure what the Spanish media is also saying about it, if they're defending him or they're not. But Marca did this really strange thing where they compared it to Iker Casillas' kiss with Sarah Carbonero, which makes no sense because obviously Casillas and Sarah Carbonero were boyfriend and girlfriend at that time.
Correct.
Totally different situation.
Very different scenario, yeah.
And also,
even Casillas has come out and denounced Rubiales for what he did.
Did he? Well, the thing is, Rubiales, I've seen a very, very, granted, a tiny percentage of people defend the action, saying it's a cultural thing, which, I'm also watching the game with my cousins from Spain. They're like, no, there's cultural, but then there is, you don't go for the lips, first of all.
Culture will be 2 pecks on each cheek, or 1 peck on each cheek, meaning two.
And if it was so cultural, then Rubiales wouldn't have backtracked and tried to apologize for it. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't. His apology wasn't like this was a cultural thing, and it was taken out of context. He was literally backtracking and saying I was wrong. I hate the fact that we're even talking about this and not the brilliant football. You know, it's so wrong of him to do this for a variety of reasons. The obvious ones are obvious, but also like just putting yourself in the attention spotlight for anything when it has nothing to do with you. We should only be talking about what these women achieved, and I hate the fact that we even have to address things like this.
Yeah, it was so fitting in a way though, because when it all started to kick off and images started to go viral, did you see the gestures of him grabbing his genitals in the celebration while he was
No.
cheering on the win? He grabs his genitals at some point.
He also did this other weird thing, which
that is cultural.
Well, he also stepped. Did you also see that he stepped in the locker room and told all the women that he's funding a trip to Ibiza and then he's marrying Hermoso? And it just looked like kind of like this a little bit of nervous, like embarrassed laughter all around is what it looked like to me. Anyways.
Hey, look, I'm sure they'll take a free trip to Ibiza.
Without him, ideally. Like, he should just stay
without
home.
him. He should not come.
Just stay home.
He should not
Let them enjoy it.
I hope it wasn't like, come to my villa in Ibiza kind of invitation. But, and even Hermoso herself, right, on a TikTok, I believe it was, or Instagram Live, said, it wasn't a pleasant moment.
She also came out and said later that I want to get the quote right, because she actually came out and said, this is the exact quote. And we have to bring it up because we have to provide the full context. But she says, it was a mutual gesture, completely spontaneous, given the immense happiness of winning a World Cup. The president and I have a great relationship. His behavior with all of this has been perfect. And it was natural gesture of endearment and gratitude. So take that for what you will. I think
her mom also said it's not as big of a deal. Look, that's why I said in the beginning, in a moment of spontaneity, right? Spontaneity. And of sheer deliria, joy for this massive achievement, I could see it. It could happen, especially if the relationship, if there's that much trust between two people. I mean, we've seen men kiss each other on the lips that out of in a spontaneous moment. But and that's why I started out, or I mentioned earlier, this was such a fitting moment that this happened nowadays during this whole woke movement and Me Too movement and sensitive culture, and because it was just like, how could this moment of Spain winning the World Cup be eclipsed by another moment in social media, something that goes viral, this awkward kiss between the president of the federation and the captain of the women's football coach, where he grabs her by the shoulders and plants her a big smooch on the lips. Again, very inappropriate for a person in his position, but that could happen in a moment of spontaneity, joy, deliria. But then just recognize that, apologize for it, and move on. If you see, especially that with Jenny herself and even her mom, there's not more, being made of this moment, this gesture. So, yeah. Anyways, there was something else I wanted to bring up, but we have a lot to get through as well. I enjoyed the win. I'm happy for the women's team. It's a massive achievement. And I'm excited as well to see the game grow.
Congrats to the Spanish women's national team, and you deserve everything. And it looks like they're not even close to being done, if you ask me. I feel like my prediction is this could turn into a dynasty over the next few tournaments. We'll see.
Yeah,
these ladies are on a different level to everybody.
And the English team is good as well. So I mean, I think that the competition as well is heating up. It's not just the U.S. women's team that is fully dominating this sport anymore.
So I know that you are so ready, and you've been counting down the minutes. You've been away for a week. You've been tweeting angrily about Florentino Perez and all the Illuminati and all the conspiracies and all the referees. Talk to me, man. What's going on with Barca? Are you worried, or are you pretty excited?
I'm worried. I think any football fan should be worried, because what we're seeing is the shambles at the moment.
Well, can we start in a non-football item?
Okay.
You are from Barcelona.
Well, my mom.
Well, okay. You're also from
I live there.
The Netherlands and Switzerland, and
right.
You're multicultural. But you live in Barcelona. You know it in and out. The excuse I've seen from Barca fans for not going to the Olympic Stadium is because it's on a hill. Is that an adequate excuse?
No.
Okay.
You're right to bring this up. It's something that I want to talk about myself. I saw the game yesterday. I was ready. I was back from holidays, sitting down. Son next to me. It was kids-friendly kickoff. Pre-game. Warm up. You're looking around. You see the stadium very empty. Very empty. Now, granted that the maximum capacity is, a fraction, a quarter of what the Camp Nou is.
Even worse.
But the fact that, even worse. Well, anyway, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, people are going to show up late. I mean, it's classic. You know that as well. In the Bernabeu is no difference. People are running in to the stadium very often at kickoff. Once kickoff has already started, people are still rushing. Okay. They like to be fashionably late. When kickoff happens, and I'm like, this is terrible. This is terrible. I looked at my son. I said, we are definitely gonna go to watch Barca this season. He's all excited. He's like, now? We're going now? I was like, no, not now. They're just kicking off. I'm like, trust me that I'm going to take you to watch Barca plenty this season. Because I, for my part, want to do my duty as yes, a full-fledged Barca fan, to support this team during a very, very critical moment in a very critical season, in what is going to be a very, very difficult season, as we are seeing. Very difficult for Barca to get something out of this, to become champions. And the fact that they are being left so alone by the socios, I believe of the 25,000 abonos, there's only 17 something handed out or being bought by socios. The people are not coming. Now, I will say that this is a mid-August game. Mid-August in the Camp Nou is primarily tourist. People, month of August here in Spain is holy. It's Semana Sagrada, okay? Not Semana Santa. It's the Holy Week, the sacred week, or month rather, El Mes Sagrado, for people to go on holiday. It's when they take 2-3 weeks and they go to the islands, or up the coast, where it may be. And leaving their seats open and available for tourists. So I still have maybe the slightest amount of hope that come September next week, when September rolls around, people come back from their holidays and back to work, that the Luis Companys, the Olympic Stadium, will be more filled. But there's no excuse to not go. I mean, the view is beautiful. It's an historic place, Kiyan. I don't know if in the time that you were here, I think you were only here for an afternoon, so I don't think you did much sightseeing or had the chance to do much sightseeing.
I've made a separate trip and I've seen the stadium.
You've seen the stadium. So it's a historic stadium. The Olympic Games were there in '92. And they say it's hard to get to, and it's there's no parking spots available. There's parking spots around Plaza España. You can drive up the hill a little bit. It's even free parking. I went there myself when I went to the Beyonce concert in the beginning of the summer. Feels like an eternity ago. But went there by car, dropped the car off, and walked up the hill a little bit. Got in fine. And that day, it was, I don't know how many people were there to watch Beyonce, but there were a lot. Meaning, obviously you can invade the pitch area itself. So I don't know if it would have been a full house, but it never felt cramped. It never felt like, oh, this is such a pilgrimage to get to. Like, what a sacrifice. Like, this is too much of a pain in the ass. I'm staying home. Fuck it. There's just no excuse. And I hope, I've always been very vocal and said that I felt that there has been a pre and a post culé since the pandemic, because I felt that coming out of the pandemic and being deprived of watching football and sitting there to see the team live in the stadium in the flesh, which is, we all know, that is completely different than watching it on TV. That I felt like there was a more of a committed and appreciative audience that were more vocal in their support for the team. So don't let me down, culés. I'm just hoping that the culés were not going to let the team down. And I, for one, want to do my part, seeing as I'm currently, have the freedom and ability to go to the stadium. I certainly want to make that sacrifice or do my part to support the team.
Well, maybe after Barca fans have seen the images on the television and see how lowly attended it was, maybe there's a bunch of Diego and Lorenzos around Barcelona who are like, you know what, we're going to do our part. So maybe it'll change. But I think the number was, I believe it was 20,000 season ticket holders have purchased tickets.
Okay.
Which is, normally last season it was 80,000. So 60,000 drop in season tickets. It's a big number.
And we all knew, and that's the thing, we knew that there was this situation looming, of course, and at some point we were going to have to deal with and face. And that was, of course, that the fact that Barca were going to have far less season ticket attendees, and therefore a lot less revenue coming in because of the sheer downsizing that has had to happen due to the Camp Nou being reconstructed and moving to Montjuic, which has a lesser capacity, right? But you would have hoped that at least the fans would have said, well, we're going to make sure that we're going to buy every single last ticket available and pack that Montjuic and make it an unforgettable year in what is, again, a crucial one where the team needs the fan support and needs to feel home. Because as, we talked about on the podcast as well, Kiyan, it's like Barca, we've lost home advantage. There is no home advantage. Montjuic is not Camp Nou, the Lluís Companys with as much history and as... I was going to say beautiful of a stadium. It has a beautiful view. I feel like that could be renovated too, the stadium itself, but it needs to feel like home. And it's certainly with, the low attendance that we saw yesterday, this team is not going to feel at home at the Olympic Stadium. So it's also, a massive disadvantage.
I don't know. I can't now, for some reason, I'm blanking on what it actually was, but is there a track in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like behind the net.
Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, because behind the net, I realized it was just a big, I saw like a Barca banner, but it was like there was no seats behind the net. So I was like, that doesn't help this situation either. There's it's already separated enough, and then on top of that, there's not as many fans. Okay, the actual game itself, Diego. I'm curious to know what your diagnosis is because, for example, watching it here in North America, at halftime, the ESPN FC pundits were saying, this Barca team is just not creating enough chances. They're being boring. This is what the wording was. They're holding possession for the sake of possession. And I actually disagree with that a little bit. I mean, if you look at what Barca were doing to get into the box, the combination play and the short passing triangles to get to the box from Pedri, from Frankie, from Yamal, who was doing really good things, that stuff was pretty encouraging. To me, a bigger problem is, when is Lewandowski gonna start scoring again? If you get Lewandowski, the difference of Barca success to me, if he starts scoring and if he doesn't, it's two different teams. If he starts scoring the way he was before the World Cup, this is a totally different, scarier Barca team. But if he's playing the way he is now, I think Barca might struggle to get goals. And I think that's where I'm more concerned about if I'm a Barca fan. I'm not as worried about getting the ball into the box and creating chances. You guys have a lot of brilliant midfielders who can do that. Gundogan's another one that I didn't mention who played a beautiful ball to Pedri. Pedri himself is a visionary on the ball. But Lewandowski, he had that one chance in the second half where I feel like Lewandowski of 2 years ago would have hit it one time, but he brings it back down, he slows it down, waits the defense to reset to block the shot. And I think that's a bigger concern is he going to start scoring?
Yeah, listen, the scoring machine that was Robert Lewandowski at the beginning of last season and the decline that we experienced into the second half of the season and that we're still currently seeing at this point with the preseason taken into account is certainly a concern for all Barca fans, whether you want to be autocritical, self-critical, whether you want to talk about the refereeing decisions or how teams are approaching this game, or I say refereeing decisions, permissiveness their
permissiveness works.
Permissiveness works,
what
right?
You're trying to say, I think.
Yes, because what I'm trying to say is letting things go. Letting things go. I think Robert Lewandowski we're seeing a frustrated version that is already, let's say, not at his peak, and that is hurting his self-confidence and his decision-making. But the fact that he is increasingly being frustrated by the permissiveness of the referees as well, and what he has to deal with when facing defenders who judo tackle him off the ball in the penalty area, who commit penalties on him by kicking him around the studs, the feet, and penalties not being called. I think that adds to the frustration and certainly doesn't alleviate or allow Lewandowski to get into maybe a goal scoring or even a playing rhythm for that matter. Forget Levy getting one in from the penalty spot and allowing Barca to get over the hump, gain a 1-0 advantage, allow their number 9 to get into a little bit of a goal scoring rhythm, have that sensation of hitting the ball, having the ball hit the back of the net. But also, I mean, Getafe, man, we didn't do. One of the reasons we didn't do Churros, Kiyan, was that I didn't want to come out and restart Churros going absolutely crazy ballistic at what I was saying. And quite frankly,
wait, dude, but do you understand the ratings we missed out on that? Do you understand?
There'll be plenty.
When you're emotional, you have to hit record right away. The window's passed now. You'll never get that back. Wrong decision.
Honestly, Churros is going to be a struggle this season. And something tells me after watching Barca Cádiz that we are going to have plenty of Churros where I am going to be pulling out my hairs.
Hold on. We got to back up. Man. Now I'm realizing where this podcast is headed because
No. Wait. The preseason has been what it is for Barca, okay? It hasn't been a preseason where the team has really gotten into their stride, okay? For various reasons, we're not seeing about it. But if we're seeing a game, the opening match for La Liga, what opens their Liga campaign against Getafe for Barca Getafe, all right? Getafe Barca, let's be correct. Where only, less than an hour was played, 56 minutes were played of almost like 2 hours, like well over 100 minutes. I mean, I know so many people said it on social media, but it has to be said. Xavi said it himself. Javier Tebas, Rubiales, what are you promoting for the Spanish league? Is this the card, our introduction, our presentation card that we want to put around the world to attract an international audience and compete against the Premier League, the dominating Premier League? Really? Is this what referees are instructed to do? Allow this to happen, non-football to be played. Dude, less than an hour was football played. In those 50-something minutes, there were interruptions. It was just disgraceful, man. It was disgraceful, and I'm talking only about the permissiveness in this point, not about the decisions or non-decisions that we've seen taking place, where there's hypocrisy and double standards across the board, and we're only 2 match days in.
I'm going to zag on that. It was entertaining to watch.
What, this? Me now?
Getafe Barca and your monologue. It was fun. I enjoyed both things greatly. Okay, no, it's okay. So this is what. So when I asked you, I'm curious, what is your diagnosis of Barcelona's problem? I didn't know your diagnosis was going to be blame the refs, blame La Liga, and blame Getafe. I thought you were going to talk about the football.
What football, dude? 56 minutes or what? There's no football being played.
So Barca couldn't have done anything.
How much action?
Dude,
there was throw-ins took 40 seconds. Free kicks took 2.5 minutes. What football is being played, Kiyan? How much continuity are we actually seeing? You tell me. Next game, I'm going to have a goddamn stopwatch with me, and I'm going to click in and click out exact seconds of action that you will see. If you cannot play the ball, if the ball's not in play, there's no football. The reason why the women's final was such an attractive game of football and such a great way to put women's football in the match was because football was being played and executed to near perfection. And for that, you need to, football to be reffed also in the right way, Kiyan.
Okay, we're on the same page about this stop-start thing. We completely agree that, look, I was complaining about this to Ewan after I've been complaining to this about everyone on every podcast. No longer can you schedule 2 hours for a football match. You have to schedule
no.
You can't it's 3 hour ordeal. The game is 120 minutes long and the ball is barely in play. we have to get to another solution, which in my opinion, I think the next test, either go back to the way it was, where it was like kind of inaccurate 3 minutes injury time, or just do
those inaccurate 3 minutes. I know, I miss those days.
Or just do stop start, like stop the clock when the ball goes out of play. That it eliminates time wasting completely. Stop the clock. That's it. And every time a player gets down injured, instead of holding their leg for 20 minutes, they're gonna get up because they know there's no point, right?
There's no point.
That's the only way to do this. And then you have to cut the halves down to 30 minutes, probably not 45 minutes, because if you keep stopping the clock, that's going to take forever too.
Correct.
But I agree with what Bordalas said after the game.
What, yesterday?
No, that one. No. What he said yesterday was delusion.
It was like all of a sudden the refs are calling out his shit, and he's like, "Hey, what the hell? Last week it was fine."
No, what he said yesterday was ridiculous. And this probably he's putting on a show. It's a shtick. It's like it's a Mourinho thing. But what he said after not after yesterday's game, but after the Barca game, he said like, "Hey, Xavi, what do you want me to do? I have a minimal budget. If I try to play like Barca against Barca, you guys are going to destroy me 10-0. Why should I do that? Just you're mad at me for not giving you free points." He's right to play that way if he wants to. There's nothing you can do to stop that.
Well, except for refereeing the right way. Kiyan, listen, when a team commits 22 fouls and sees 3 yellow cards, I believe, and another team commits 9 fouls and sees 4 yellow cards, 3 of those which are for quote unquote protesting or talking to the referee, there's something wrong, man. And I'm not talking about Getafe, I'm actually talking about Cádiz. Cádiz, who's a friendly team, who I have a lot of,
they got to do what they got to do, man. It's not their fault.
Ben Harbert, my friend, partial owner of the team, I harbor no ill feelings against your club and city and people who have a lot of love for, but and Cádiz wasn't Getafe either. I mean, what Getafe did was a whole other level. But the fact is that 22 fouls committed, 9 for Barça, 3 yellow cards for one side, 4 yellow cards for the other. It's going to be a long and frustrating season, Kiyan, for Barça fans. I guarantee. This podcast has always been Madrid slanted, geared towards Madridistas because of the platform you have, Managing Madrid has. But I suggest Madridistas to subscribe, follow, hit us up on Patreon, because you guys will have a field day with how frustrated I will get this season watching football and refereeing decisions go.
You realize you're talking.
Look, let's talk tactics. I need to get that off my chest. It's going to be a reoccurring point. I'm keeping score. Okay, the Bellingham handball, clear handball, hitting the bicep.
That was not a handball.
All good.
What are you talking about?
All good. No, of course not. Right there, it's all good.
It was not a handball.
The Gavi though. Run to the VAR, handball for sure, no penalty of him being pulled down, no penalty on Araujo. This is what we got in our hands. This is what we're going to have to deal with. Subscribe to Patreon, guys, because you're going to love it. You will love how salty, quote unquote salty, I'll be getting this season and how frustrated I'll get. But I'm keeping tabs.
You're talking to a fan base who is coming off a season where our best player was mauled to death physically and verbally. All season, and he had more yellow cards than everyone he faced,
and still gets away for calling a son of a SOB referees and telling them they're crazy, yada yada. Whereas like a calm Ter Stegen comes to the referee, says in his polite German, "Excuse me, ref, please tell me what." Boom! Before he even gets a chance to open his mouth, toma, yellow cards all around for Barca. Well, it's insane.
The Ter Stegen one should not have been a yellow. That was ridiculous. That was insane. But again, let's not get into this, man. Come on, this is not. It's not conspiracy.
Inevitable.
It's not. Refs suck. Refs suck. They hurt every team.
They suck more.
They
towards others than others.
They don't.
They don't.
You see it only one way.
Not all. What was it? An Animals Farm. Not all animals are created equally. Like was it in the end the slogan? It started to change. Look, not all teams are ref equally, man. And I'm keeping tabs. We're gonna talk about it.
No, you're not. You're not keeping tabs. You're not, because you're only keeping track of one team. If you want to keep
2 teams.
Start a spreadsheet for all. No,
2 teams.
Do 20 teams. Start the spreadsheet.
No need.
You won't keep track of 2 teams either fairly, because you just said Bellingham's was a handball.
It clearly was, Kiyan.
No, it wasn't.
How can you not call that a handball? It touched his goddamn bicep.
You won't keep
How is
tabs
Gavi's
fairly.
How is Gavi's a handball? Was Gavi's a handball?
Listen, I can't have this conversation with you.
Was Gavi's a handball?
I honestly don't remember Gavi's at all. I don't remember. If I'll take your word for it, it was not a handball. I don't remember it. Because you even sent it to me on Instagram, but by the time I looked at it, the story had disappeared, so I didn't see it.
Conveniently, yeah.
Conveniently.
La Liga's cracking down on that too.
You still
censor.
Let us remind everyone that you still think going all the way back to 2018 that Lucas Vazquez was not fouled by Juventus in the last second. And
take it all the way back, baby. Go 1998.
No.
Mijatovic offside. Mijatovic is offside.
My point is that
he was offside.
You won't keep track of it fairly, because you will interpret the calls differently than what they actually are. Because you have,
if you and I, I'll make it easy. If you and I can establish a criteria on what is handball, okay?
Well, first of all, even FIFA can't do that.
No, I know, but if you and I can do that, then we can keep tabs based on our criteria. Okay? Because we know that the refs are going to change it every day. Like, we cannot rely. One day it is a handball, another day it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you and I can, okay?
Okay, how far you want to go back? You want to go back the last 20 years?
No, I'm saying this season, as of now. Let's keep tabs.
Next game? You want to go back next game?
No. Well, let's start with match day 1 already. I mean, there's already been injustices happening across the board. We're only 2 match days in.
Okay. Start the spreadsheet.
I will.
Okay.
So far, 3 penalties not called. 4 penalties not called for Barca.
Edit access.
In the last 40 games, and that is just taking account last season and this season. Well, obviously, not even taking into account the season before. In 40 games, you know how many penalties Barca have been called in favor? How many penalties have been called in favor for Barca? Let me phrase it correctly.
Since when?
The last 40 games. So going back to the beginning of last season.
I don't know.
Just take a wild guess.
3.
You were close. 2 penalties.
Okay.
Shambolic, my friend. It's shambolic.
Okay.
For a team that only that focuses their football on attack, spends most of the time in the attacking third, shambolic. Okay, but let's keep tabs. Look, I know that this is frustrating for the Madridista base, or not so much the Madridista base because they control me in the comment section, but for you, and out of respect for you, I also want to provide you with some clear-headed self-criticism and analysis that I'm missing from Barca.
Because I'm missing, in my opinion,
I'm trying to talk tactics.
No, I know. In my opinion, Florentino's the one to blame for Barca's struggles.
Well, I'm happy we have come to terms with that. That is, my God, we're making strides. That is good news. Thank you that we can agree on that point. But the intensity is surely something that I want to see pick up over this next, stretch of matches. I think next up is who we got. We're playing away. I forget the schedule. I almost wanted to say Athletic. Anyway,
you were so on top of this stuff when you were at Barca. Villarreal away.
Villarreal. Bueno, okay. Team that likes to play football. So I'm hoping more intensity. I'm hoping, more, as I always say, daring, brave passes with purpose, into spaces. Okay. The runs from the wingers. creating these spaces or runs into those spaces, rhythm. I mean, really, the thing is, what's lacking is rhythm. So that's why inevitably I come back to the referee, because I want to see rhythm. Okay, I want to see continuity. I want to see Barca enjoying having the ball at their feet, out passing, outclassing the opponents, and really see more dynamism, right? Dinamismo, más dinámico. El equipo lo quiero ver más dinámico. I want to see them more dynamic, more purposeful, energetic. I feel like we're still sort of in this summer lull. Granted, the temperatures are scorching hot here at the moment. So, 7:30 kickoff time, even though it might seem like late, it's 8 o'clock here now, and I'm still schwitzing here. Up at 8 p.m. While doing the podcast. So imagine, running around for 90 minutes or over an hour and a half. So, but I feel like we're still in the summer lull. My conclusion, we were asked on a podcast from the preseason, was that I didn't really like what I was seeing. I felt insecure, if you remember, Kiyan, the last time we spoke. I felt uneasy and insecure heading into La Liga. This was before match day 1. And I feel so far I've been proven right. It's not a Barca that are really feeling themselves at the moment. Of course, there's been a lot of players, or there are new players in that have to get adjusted to the team, players that are coming back from loan, or new players such as Gundogan himself. You mentioned him having a stellar game, I think, as well. I was really happy to see him play 90 minutes with near flawless pass completion, of course, an assist as well, chances that he created, duels that he won. As far as I remember, he didn't get dispossessed once, helped to recover the ball. So all in all, very good stuff from what we're seeing from Gundogan, Pedri as well. Lamine Yamal, joder, like, another thing I said on the podcast, Kiyan, last time I remember talking to you was, let's take it step by step. Let's ease him into the squad. At this point in time, if he's playing like this, and you don't have a Rafinha at your availability, and you're not entirely sure who your front line should be, give continuity right now to Lamine Yamal, absolutely, who's just, for a kid who a month ago, Kiyan, was still 15, just turned 16, is asombroso. It's remarkable. It's remarkable.
I like just you listing off all those things. This is a reminder that I think Real Madrid and Barcelona have similar problems tactically. We both have a bunch of really great midfielders, and neither of us have a right back. Although, excuse me, Carvajal's been awesome the first 2 games, and you guys looks like you're getting Cancelo, if that's still happening. So, goal scoring might be a concern. Creating chances will not be a concern. In your case, you have Lewandowski. In our case, we basically need Bellingham and Vinicius to score a bunch of goals and hope. So far Bellingham saved our ass, but I don't know how sustainable that is because he's not a striker
as well.
Oh man,
he's been fantastic.
Bargain. So I don't know, man. I keep on looking at this Barca team and I'm like,
I like it. Feel yourself. I like I'm assuming what you're saying is you're not impressed and it's going to be a pushover for Madrid, I guess.
No, it's not. No. Even if Real Madrid were playing in my in my son's elementary school league, they still won't win the league. This is just Real Madrid. Last season, I just felt like, man, what a shame to be losing to this Barca team. I've told you this before. I think you got offended. But it's but Barca deserved to win their league title. There's no question. But I was like, man, these guys are just scraping by 1-0. Ter Stegen saving their ass every game. And it's Ter Stegen's been unbelievable, by the way. Still is. Cadiz had numerous breakaway chances, and Ter Stegen was amazing again. So I don't know. It's not even a Barca concern. It's more I just look around the league, man, and there's barely a game on the schedule that I'm super excited about, you know? In the whole country. It's not even a Barca thing. Like I was looking at Barca Cadiz, like I watched it. Okay, it just kind of felt like a little bit of a, there's barely people in the stadium. It's Barca Cadiz,
It's a
there's
terrible.
not much happening. Betis Atletico, which was probably the best game on the calendar, was kind of boring too. I tuned in to that a little bit today, like after the fact, and some chances here and there, 0-0. Valencia at the Mestalla, like it's not what it used to be. I'm just kind of looking around the league, and I'm kind of like, man. Even Sevilla, like Sevilla, normally I'd be stoked to watch Sevilla play. Not these days. So it's more of like a concern for the league, not even just.
It's a concern for the league, yeah. You can't be Javier Tebas right now and be content and be happy with your product. You just can't. You can't be seeing half-empty stadiums. No. It would be interesting to see the amount of goals scored compared to like other seasons, more peak seasons in terms of audience or players as well, because I feel like the spectacle and the entertainment has certainly taken a hit in quality, and that should be of concern for all Spanish football fans, of which you and I are too, and have been talking about for the past 6-something years. And it's something that has been always looming on the horizon as well, the demise of this league, as we saw stars get plucked away and English teams, tier table teams, be able to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 million in transfers, teams with no football history or no history that at least matches those of the Atléticos, the Betis, the Sevilla, not to mention the Barca Madrids, and have a Barca that is able to spend 3 million in the transfer market. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking, and Tebas has to, I think, be open to criticism. I feel like we all know that, or I say we all know, Spanish people are known for being quite hard-headed. Maybe the reason why the symbol of the country is a bull is because it's cabeza dura, hard-headed, just looking in one direction, and nobody's able to change other people's minds without a fight. And right now in Rubiales and Tebas, I think that we have two people in charge of the state of Spanish football that are not even able to see eye to eye with each other, and they're putting a damper and a stronghold on Spanish clubs right now, Spanish football as a whole, that is hurting the game and hurting clubs, hurting the league, even though the talent is rife, as we have seen with the women's team as well. Spanish football here, it's so ingrained in the culture. I should say football is so ingrained in Spanish culture. People love to play it. There's so much talent, but it's not being put to the best use, and that's definitely concerning. Yeah. But if the answer, last thing, Kiyan, if the answer is we need to use VAR less, like what Florentino and Ancelotti have been asking in the refereeing committee, and has apparently been told to the coaches that yes, indeed, VAR will be used less, forget it. We are going the completely wrong direction right now.
I don't think VAR should be used less, but I think VAR should be quicker. That's what needs to happen.
We need to improve it. Absolutely.
Yeah. This blew me away. I stumbled upon this information we were doing a preview podcast for the Almeria versus Real Madrid game. And we were looking at Almeria's offseason, because they've actually been one of the few Spanish teams that's been busy in the offseason. Did you know that Almeria have spent 30 million more than Barca this offseason on players?
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's crazy, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's insane.
Oriol Romeo was your only signing with, I mean, Gundogan and Inigo were free agents, so I mean, they were free. Romeo's been good, by the way.
Yeah, he's breaking in the 11
Good
as
signing.
well. Mm.
Do we just end the podcast there? Romeo's been a good signing.
Romeo's been good.
Good signing. Peace out.
Make sure you tune in to the next one.
You know, the other thing I forgot to mention watching Barca play. The Dembele departure looks worse and worse. I swear, with every time I watch Barca play, it's only been a couple games. But you just, like, that guy just invokes fear when he's dribbling at players.
Well, let's see. I don't know. I'm hoping that the Lamine Yamal, for me right now, he's
Opens the door for Yamal.
opens the door, and he's broken onto the scene and exceeding expectations. So I'm actually not dreading it as much. You know, do I expect the Lamine to immediately step into the shoes of an Ousmane Dembele? Obviously not. Absolutely not. But it does allow him to gain confidence, gain experience as just a rife 16-year-old kid playing in a league of adults and professionals and taking on defenders one-on-one. And the only way they can stop him is by committing penalties that are so far not being called by the referee. So once those start falling in our way rightfully, and again, please do, referees, call the penalties against these actions. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to, but I'm going to call it out. Penalties need to be called out.
I lost track, man. Barca's getting screwed so much. I don't know.
It is terrible. So, you know, his impact. I mean, it wasn't like Dembele ever went on a massive scoring run. So, you know, to expect Lamine Yamal to also be scoring them, putting them in the back of the net, besides creating chances, is just unrealistic. But yeah, Dembele certainly commanded respect on the right flank because of his versatility in his feet, his creation, his creation making abilities, and also the off shot that sometimes went in, you know, on target, hit the back of the net, just stunning goals, and other ones that went flying outside of the stadium. So we'll see what he does at PSG. I'm very curious to see how his career progresses as he now plays in a lesser league, but with a team where the expectations are, of course, to bring home the Champions League. So we'll see how he fares. Mind you, Mbappe not happening, or where are we there? The saga continues and the plot twists do as well. I thought it was a done deal, man.
No, you said that, not me.
I said that. I thought it was a done deal.
Yeah.
Not because you claimed to say so. Quite the opposite. You were always hesitant, and you stayed well clear of claiming that it was a done deal. Me, on the other hand, I was convinced by the Madrid press that this was done, dusted, in the bag. Mbappe, his childhood dream of playing for Madrid, was going to come true. What's the latest?
Mind you, even as a skeptic, it's still not
Off the cards, neither. No,
off the cards. But I don't think it's on the cards. The reality is still the same. Like, I wish people really understood this, and they're going crazy every day, losing their minds, so emotional, like the hysteria. The reality is the same today as it was 2 months ago. Mbappe wants to stay at PSG and finish his contract. PSG don't want to lose him for free. Real Madrid are not contacting either of them, and that's it. And
are they paying 250? Or I mean,
I would be shocked if Real Madrid paid that much for him this summer. Shocked.
Is it going to be the classic 250, but the press announce it as 150 and talk about a miraculous Florentino play where 100 million is just not accounted for, discussed by the media, Possibly. And we are sold it was 150?
Possibly. The thing is, I'm not sure, because Florentino has, from what I understand, he's budgeted 50 million to pay the referees to screw Barca. So I don't know if
the accounting books. I mean, in Madrid, it's
I think you
who
can
keeps track anyway.
Yeah,
It's-
you can probably get away with. I'm sure there's some loophole.
Oh, murder,
Yeah.
mate. Get away
But-
with murder.
Uh,
Are you excited for a new season of Churros? 7th season.
is it really?
It must be. We were 6 seasons in. 20. We started 2017.
It's all a blur to me. In my
2017.
mind, everything started like 2 years ago. Like I started
2017-18 is when we started
Mm,
that season.
okay. 17, 18, is that what you said?
I believe so.
Okay.
Might have been 16. No, I'm pretty sure it was 17-18. Pretty sure.
Yeah. In my mind, everything started 2 years ago. The Managing Madrid podcast, this podcast, my existence, my kids were born 2 years ago. I've been 30 for the past
You
6
plugged
years.
into the Matrix 2 years ago. You took the red pill
I think that's what
or the
happened.
blue one. I don't know which one.
No, which one's the one where it's the red pill that takes them down the rabbit
Red,
hole?
right? Yeah.
so. Yeah.
So are you excited for this season, or are we already starting on a downer where we're just admitting that the quality of La Liga sucks, and it is what it is.
It's a double-edged sword for me. I will say this. I really like what I've seen from Real Madrid on the pitch so far.
Oh, so you are feeling yourself.
And
You're
that
super. Imagine you not winning this league now.
No, well, I mean, like, there a lot of this could change in an instant. Like, with the Courtois
Refs
and
actually getting stuff right. Okay.
yeah, I mean, refs could just wake up and be like, I don't need money. We got to do what's right for
That is
Barcelona.
a handball.
Yeah. They start realizing, they start to like maybe distort reality. They think Bellingham's shoulder is his arm, and they call a BS penalty against us. All that could change all of a sudden. I mean, the Militao Courtois injuries came out of nowhere. That was gutting. That was a sucker punch.
Yes.
I still don't think it's sustainable to score. I mean, we've scored 5 goals in the last 2 games, and you look at it, and we've outperformed our XG. I don't know how sustainable that stuff is. I don't know how sustainable it is for Bellingham to fly into the box for a header like a striker. But I put it this way. We have a really likable group of players right now. There's no divas. There's no huge egos. Everyone likes each other. Ancelotti,
Except for Vinny, obviously, yes.
Yeah, maybe in your world, not in our world.
Vinny doesn't have a big ego, or are we living in a parallel universe where, in your eyes, he doesn't have a big ego? Are you kidding me?
You mistake ego for confidence.
It's gonna be a long season.
You know who has a big ego?
Oh,
Gavi. You know what would humble Gavi?
Don't mix ego with pride. Pride.
Don't mix ego for all
Big ego, Gavi. Gavi's like the most introverted, humble, quiet guy you've ever seen in your life, probably.
You know what would be
Besides
really humbling
maybe
for
Messi.
him if he joined Real Madrid and played 7th choice midfielder behind Dani Ceballos. That would be very humbling for him.
In your dreams, bro.
Okay, is there anything else you want to talk about? There's I just want to bring to your attention and our listeners' attention that there is a pretty big backlog of Patreon DMs and comments that Diego and I have to go through on the Patreon edition this week. We will get to that, I promise.
Great.
That 1 week off was an anomaly for us. Keep in mind it was
You guys
Diego's
know that's
last
true.
big holiday before the season gets into full swing, and I'm here, so we'll get to those. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas is the next Patreon edition. We'll tackle that.
By the way, before we spit final goodbyes, I announced yesterday on Twitter that I was going to announce something today, or that I had news today. And that is that I have officially launched my website, diegomediaverse.com. Go and check it out. I'm going to post a link and a little message to everybody that follows me on the social media platforms to go and check it out, connect with me, reach out, let me know your feedback. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for what's to come and to work with professionals to keep creating content. And
hey,
there you
look
go,
at
my
that.
man.
Share
My
screen.
man.
Diego Lorijn is on the screen on YouTube. Hey, this is slick. Did you do it yourself?
Thank you. No, with the help of my devoted, beloved, lovely wife, and with the customer support of Wix as well.
Nice.
I managed to get this together, cut all those videos, and I'm hoping it's looking this pixelated because it's sharing. Is it looking? Because it should be.
It looks great. It looks great on my
quality.
screen,
Okay.
but I think it's
Okay.
when you share the screen, it gets pixelated. It slows
Okay,
down a little bit,
okay.
but it looks great.
Good. Well, yeah. So I'm excited to announce that, to launch that, and to allow that to be a platform for me to attract future employers, people that, again, like I said, want to work together with, that want to create content. So hopefully, more news on projects as in the future as I roll out this what is now my I see it as my business card, right? My presentation. It's how I'm showcasing my stuff, my talents. I have to make what is missing. There are several show reels, my match commentating, which is almost finished, that I'm going to be uploading. But of course, the big one is the Churros y Tácticas Podcast show reel that I want to upload and promote as well, because I do make mention, of course, of my podcasting. I do announce myself as a podcaster as well. So Churros represent. So I got to get
Churros,
that done.
Churros Instagram reels and all that stuff.
Dude, seriously, all
do
that
well.
stuff. Yeah, but all that stuff, man. But also, again, we talked about, I need to ask you off air again. I want to get in touch with the dude, the guy that cuts your reels and do all that stuff. Anyway, check it out and let me know. I'm gonna post a tweet about it in a little bit.
Okay, cool, awesome, Diego. This was fun.
Good to be back.
Catch us once a week exclusively on patreon.com/churros y tácticas. See you there. Peace out, Diego.
Bye bye.